Hi, I'm Joseph Crudup, and welcome to my storybook. Today, this is the final part 3 of this book called North Carolina. Tonight, I'm going to be reading part 4, part 5, and part 6 in this book. Chapter 4 Government for All, Even When Divided. Politics have always been explosive in North Carolina. People often disagree sharply over how the state should be governed. For almost 100 years after the Civil War, Democrats controlled politics in North Carolina. In the late 1960s, some Democrats took strong stands in favor of greater rights for African Americans and against the Vietnam War. At the same time, many of the state's more conservative services, particularly those from small towns and rural areas, began to speak out against the will of the Democrat Party. Over time, consecutively, North Carolinians began voting for Republican candidates in greater and greater numbers. Today, the state is evenly divided between unbranded centers like Charlotte, Raleigh, and Winston-Salem, when Democrats are still the majority and the primary. Republican rural areas and small towns. Together, these two political parties have worked, have ruled the state, coming together to compromise while continuing to compete in the politics era. Inside government. North Carolina's government is divided into three branches: executives, legislature, and judging. Executive. The governor heads North Carolina's executive branch. He or she is responsible for appointing important officials and introducing new policies in such areas as education, healthcare, and law enforcement. The governor is elected to a 4-year term. Other officials in North Carolina's executive branch include the lieutenant governor, the state treasurer, and the attorney general. Legislators. The North Carolina legislature is divided into two houses: a Senate with 50 members and the House of Representatives with 120 members. Members of the both houses are elected to 2-year terms. The legislature is responsible for introducing and passing the bills that will become state laws after the majority of the members in both houses pass a bill. It is signed by the governor and becomes law. Judicial. Most trials in North Carolina are held in superior or district courts. District courts hear cases involving moral crimes and civil suits. Superior courts try more serious cases. Wherever someone disagrees with the decision of one of the state's trial courts, the case is sent to the Court of Appeals to decide whether the decision should be upheld or overruled. If the decision of the Court of Appeals is also challenged, the North Carolina Supreme Court, the state's highest court, reviews the case. In his the final say in the matter, all North Carolina judges are elected. The 7 Supreme Court justices, 12 Court of Appeal judges, and all Superior Court judges are elected to 8-year terms. District Court judges serve 4-year terms. Democrats, Republicans, and the historic 2008 presidential election. Race plays an important role in the lives of North Carolina's citizens. Most people, both black and white, agree that North Carolina has made great strides since the 1960s in providing freedom and opportunity for its people. However, black and white North Carolinians have had a much harder time learning to get along on a personal level. One of the biggest problems has been when people live. Most African Americans live in the Piedmont region and the northern coastal plain. Meanwhile, people who live in the western mountains are almost exclusively white. Because of the geographic, because of this geographic separation, some pockets of the black and white populations of North Carolina have very little contact with each other. This lack of contact sometimes leads to misunderstanding and suspicions, in which just blacks and whites have often find themselves on opposing sides of politics debates, while most whites in the state regularly vote Republican. African Americans are most more likely to vote Democratic. Until the re-election of George W. Bush, who won the state in the 2004 presidential election with 56% of the vote. North Carolina's tricolorly upheld their Republican reputation. In the 2008 election, however, a record-breaking turnout of North Carolina voters, both black and white, helped to elect Barack Obama, the country's first African American president. It was a very close race in North Carolina. Obama won by fewer than 20,000 votes. It was the first time in more than 30 years that North Carolinians voted for a Democrat presidential candidate. North Carolina was considered a provider state in the 2008 election. The state's electoral votes helped the Democrat candidate clinch the win. Chapter 5. The economy from funds and factors to services. Like all the other states in England, in 2008 and 2009, North Carolina's economy was hit by falling banks, rampant bankruptcies, and high unemployment across the economic spectrum, from financial companies to technology-based firms, alcohol products, and textile industries. 2008 and 2009 were not good years. The unemployment rate at the beginning of 2009 was 8.7%, one of the highest in all the states and the highest in North Carolina since 1983. The recession, plus the effects of the globalized marketplace, lead economists to see the state's involvement economy as a good thing. The economy has been moving away from one base on agriculture and manufacturing towards a more service-based one. Service industries are businesses that serve people. This includes technology, resource companies, as are found in Wallace Resource Triangle Park, as well as financial companies, insurance business, retail stores, restaurants, and other business that help people in one way or another as a person to making products. Agriculture. Agriculture is one of the oldest industries in the state. It dominated North Carolina's economy until the end of the 19th century. Despite the increases of manufacture, technology, and service industry, the state's 48,000 farms still play an important role in its economy. Over 150,000 workers are employed on farms, and they have the hardest crops that brings in more than $1.8 billion. One of the state's chief agricultural products in greenhouse plants, which brings more, which brings in more than $800 million each year. North Carolina ranks fourth in the United States in greenhouse agriculture. The second largest agricultural sales are in tobacco. Each year, North Carolina raises about 45% of the nation's tobacco crop, the largest production in the country, valued at about $409 million. And traditionally, North Carolina is first in the nation in the manufacturing of cigarettes and other tobacco products. More than half of the cigarettes purchased each year in the United States are produced and packaged in the state. The R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company in Winston-Salem operates two of the world's largest factories. Other crops the state produce include corn, peanuts, cotton, peppers, cucumbers, cabbage, tomatoes, and sweet potatoes. North Carolina farmers produce more sweet potatoes than any other state. Vegetable production over brings in more than 160 million each year. Christmas trees are another important crop, adding about about $100 million to the state's economy each year. North Carolina ranks second in the country in the production of Christmas trees. Another important crop is fruit. North Carolina ranks fourth in the nation in fruit production, which brings in about $80 million annually. In recent years, rising cattle for both beef and dairy products have become increasingly important to the state's economy. Unavailable livestock products are chickens and turkeys. Fishing is another important source of income in the state, especially in coastal waters. Flounder, sea turtle, and quacker are the important popular catches, along with crabs, oysters, cranes, and shrimps. Manufacturing. In the early part of the 20th century, many spinning and weaving mills and built in the state, taking advantage of its shrimp strings to power them and other cotton products in the state. During this time, many textiles companies from the northern states moved to North Carolina and helped to create a textile line in density as the Prima are becoming a center for industry development in the South. The manufacture of such textiles as fabric, lawn, thread, and clothing is still an important industry in the state. North Carolina is one of the nation's leaders in textile production. As the 21st century dawned, however, there were signs that the state's traditional tobacco and textile industries were fading in importance. This does not mean that manufacturing in itself was losing significant, though, according to the report released in 2008 by the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce, the benefits and economic impact of manufacturing in North Carolina are great. Historically and today, North Carolina is the seventh largest manufacturing state in America, and some people are optimistic about the future. Despite the downturn in production the state has experienced through the tax line, tobacco, and financial industries are suffering. Leading fundamental in a permanent carry and other chemical manufacturers intentionally could boost the economy, and some economy believe chemical chemical manufacturing creates such things as cleaning products and second-hand phobias. Other important industries in the state include the manufacturing of company computers and electronic equipment. The manufacturing of other parts is also important to the state's economy, although no cars are produced in North Carolina. Individual automobile parts are one-fourth of the manufacturing section in North Carolina is tied to the manufacture of cars, trucks, and buses. About 70% of North Carolina's economy is based on the service industry. The largest players include financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, and real estate developers. Next in order are important are business involved in healthcare, private schools, resource factories, law firms, and repair shops. Since the last half of the 20th century, North Carolina has become known as a center for research on everything from high technology to chemicals, the metals. Sorry. Most of the research is done at Resource Triangle Park, located between Raleigh and Durham. The Resource Triangle was founded in 1958 as a collaboration between Duke University and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, North Carolina State, at Chapel Hill, North Carolina State University, and several local businesses. Today, Resources Triangle houses the largest collection of resource-based business in the country. The third largest section of the service in density including restaurants, hotels, and retail stores, such as those found in shopping malls, both state and financial government. Business which fall in the service section, public schools, public hospitals, and military bases are included under government service. The economic recessions that hit the nation in 2008 and 2009 affected many of North Carolina's businesses. Though many business people remain optimistic that the economy would turn around, there was no clear sign that this would happen quickly. People hope, however, that was invested in the dedication of workers so they could take on the challenge of high tech jobs. The state's economy outlook will improve. Many North Carolinians acknowledge that there was a need for change and willing to take the steps necessary to help their state remain economically vibrant. Chapter 6 From Mountain to Beach. North Carolina is a fantastic mix of dramatic peaks, white beaches, sleeping towns, and thrilling cities. Let's take a quick tour of some of them. The mountains. Western North Carolina's biggest attraction is the Blue Ridge Parkway. This series was snakes through the mountains from the Virginia state line in the north, all the way to the Tennessee border to the east. Cars creep along the parkway at the Stell's Place, as their passengers take in the breathtaking mountain views that spread out in every direction. Apocalypse stopped in the spectacular Grandfather Mountains. The most exciting thing about it is the swinging bridge that connects tourists tiny peaks. One clear day, visitors who are brave enough to cross the bridge can gaze straight down into the valley that plugs below their feet. I've been to Grandfather Mountain at least a dozen times over the years, says a stoneholder from Boone. But I still feel the same fear and excitement every time I walk across the old bridge. You look out all around you in every direction, and you feel like you're floating on top of the world. It makes me feel dizzy just thinking about it. Hiding away in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains is the Cherokee Indian Resources, the largest Indian reservation in the eastern United States. The, the reservation is the original hiding place of the Cherokee who escaped capture by federal troops in 1838. The highlight of the reservation is a recreated Cherokee village from the colonial town known as the Offering Inner Village. In it, you can see mud clay and log houses like those in which the Cherokee lived more than 250 years ago. You can also watch long Cherokee men demonstrate traditional hunting skills with blow guns and bows and arrows. Asheville, perching on the eastern rim of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Asheville is a rich blend of traditional and modern elements. Over the years, it has been home to several of the state's most prominent citizens, including politicians Zebulon B. Vance and no less Thomas Wolfe. Vance was a popular governor and senator in the years following the Civil War. In the modest of the structure, only his settlement is located in Pat Square near the heart of downtown a few blocks away. Wolfe's childhood home has been restored at the museum celebrating his life and work. More than anything else, Asheville is known for its spiraling attractions. Several of Asheville's tall buildings date from the 1920s, when shot angels and glamour still supported. When popular electorate in 1925, the 15-story Jackson building was the city's first skyscraper. It still casts a dark shadow over the people storing along Pat Square. Across from Pat Square, the City Hall was designed to resemble a mountain fortress. Completed in 1928, it is made of a colorful blind marble, brick, and terracotta. An achievement, Douglas D. Allerton, reporting design, the building's 8-slab roof, a resemble the traditional headless worn by African American Indians for the religion. Asheville has long been a popular gathering place for people interested in bluegrass music and mountain folk art. Peddlers, wool cables, and instrument makers sell their work in small stores throughout the Asheville. And on most evenings, musicians playing bluegrass and all-time mountain songs performed around the city, in which years the era has begun to attract young people involved in more modern music and art, and the city's parks and public plazas experiences partners, musicians, and performances artists occasionally display their talent alongside traditional musicians, and countless people. It's amazing. It's really amazing. If you think about it, says along classical music, you wish to move to the era. That says it small. Similarly, isolated place could have room for so many types of people and so many forms of artistic expression. There's old time music, performances art, rock and roll, jazz. It's all here in Nashville. Charlotte, snuggler beneath the foothills of the Abercrombie Mountains. Charlotte is North Carolina's largest city. It is filled with art galleries and musicians. The musician of art was the state's first musician to display classical and European and American paintings and also features one of the nation's fanciest collections of pottery and proclaim. Another musicians by hand focus on handcraft work by folk artists and potters found throughout the southeast. The southeast. The Trylon Center for Varsity Art, located in a beautifully restored church building in the city's historic district, features a spectacular collaboration of contemporary art. Download Store Botanical Garden is one of the South's largest and most colorful botanical gardens. It is located in nearby Burmont. High others the spawning grounds including the Skull Garden, which is filled with butterflies and birds, and the Caroline Garden, which is filled with amazing tropical flowers. Raleigh, in the heart of the Piedmont region, is the state capital. Raleigh, the capital of Carpets, two entire tree-lined blocks at the heart of the city's downtown, but in its anomalous columnar and dome. It is widely recognized as one of the nation's outstanding explainers of Greek revival architecture. The governor's mansion sits at the edge of the historic neighborhood of embellished 19th century homes. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Roosevelt one described it as the most beautiful governor's residence in North Carolina. Raleigh is known as a city of parks, gardens, and natural trails. The metropolitan area has 150 major parks. Not far from downtown, Purley Park features a crossover, a military trailway, and paddle boats. During the spring and summer, Shelley Lake is filled with steamboats and paddle boats as one circles the getaway trails bordering the water. There's not a better place in this country to live and raise a family, whereas the government employee in the valley. The whole area is converted with dogwoods and pine trees. In the spring and summer, the roads and sidewalks are lined with flowers, and you never have a problem finding a place to play ball with your kids or have a picnic with your family. The whole city feels like it was made for people to live in, and that's something you just don't see that much these days. Wilmington, located near the state's southeastern corner. Wilmington is North Carolina's leading seaport and one of the fastest growing cities. A major part of Wilmington's appeal lies in the possession of its colorful history. Historic downtown Wilmington features trailers and Venetian riverboats docking in the harbor, with its 230 blocks of resolved buildings and landmarks. It's one of the largest historic districts in the nation. Visitors can enter a tour the area by foot or inch, a ride in a house-drawn carriage, docking on the Catfield River is another piece of history. The USS North Carolina Marauder, nicknamed the Showboat, the remote ship was an important part of every major sea battle in the Pacific Ocean during the World War II. The Outer Banks. Most of the coastline north of Wilmington is guarded by the narrow string islands known as the Outer Banks. The islands of the Coral Banks are connected to the mainland by a series of toilet bridges that strip out from one shore and down onto the other. Most people who visit the area come to see the snowy white beaches. North of Wilmington, the Jangular beats are cat haters just out into the Atlantic Ocean like a Johnny Elbow, known as the Great Lord of the African of the Atlantic. The cat has been the site of countless boating incidents over the years. Time and time again, boaters have ventured too close to the shore and lost control in the powerful tides. In 1870, Cat Hitler's Lighthouse, one of the largest on the East Coast, were actually as the trip of the camp to one ships approaching the shore. Today, this magnificent brick structure is painted in stripes of black and white and weighs 180 feet above the water. The further north on the shore Outer Banks is the building stretch of beach known as Nag's Head. Nag's Head. Visitors to the areas enjoy climbing to the top of the enormous stones, which provides spectacular views of the blue, white Captain water of the Atlantic. A few miles north are the beaches of Kitty Hawk and Kill Devil Hills, and 91-foot monument at the top of Kill Devil Hills once the site where the Wright brothers made the world's first controllable mountaineers flight in 1903. You can also visit replicas of the hangar and workshop where the Wright brothers built and repaired their airplanes. Today, visitors fly kites instead of airplanes, and the powerful winds that blow across the beach. There's so much to see in North Carolina, says a visitor to Kill Devil's Hills. There's such much history and so much beauty right here, side by side. When I was growing up, folks used to argue about which was the best, the mountains or the ocean. But if you understand what yourself, there's really no way you can make a choice. You just have to see them both. And everything that's in between, that's the only way you can really get to know North Carolina. And that's the end of this book. The book called North Carolina. I just read chapter 4, chapter 5, and chapter 6. Monday, I did read chapter 1. Tuesday, I did read chapter 2. And then Wednesday, I read chapter 3. And then today, I read in chapter 4 and 5 and 6. This book, that is just another person for the world. And also, don't forget, I almost forgot. Today was chat. Today was a part 4 of this book. But anyway, you know how it goes. So now, the end of this book called No Count Out. And I enjoy reading this book, and I hope you enjoy watching me on YouTube of me reading this book. This is the storybook of me, Joseph Crudup, and I hope you enjoy this book. Until then, I'm Joseph Crudup. God bless you, and love, peace, and the heart of North Carolina, and on the Joseph Crudup Network. Peace out, everybody. Love you guys. Bye bye.